You're gonna be pissed off at me, aren't you? Ugh. Well, that was a bit of a struggle. Hey, I'm sorry. Hey, there is a number.
1 blah blah blah.
Looks like it might be 155. So what's it say for 155?
August.
August. So we do have to measure and weigh. All right. Hi, my name is John Moore, and I'm a professor of biology at the Florida Atlantic University's Wilkes Honors College. And one of the areas that I do research in is examining the ecology of gopher tortoises. Gopher tortoises are a species of land turtle that lives here in Florida and elsewhere in the southeast of the U.S. And as the name implies, they dig burrows. The burrow is not only a home for the gopher tortoise, but for a wide array of other animals. There are a number of small vertebrates, various toads, lizards, snakes, small mammals that utilize the burrows as at least temporary homes, if not more long-term homes, and a wide array of insects. So there's up to 360 some odd species of animals that are known from inside gopher tortoise burrows. The gopher tortoises are a protected species here in Florida. They're considered a threatened species because of the loss in numbers and loss in habitat. So when this site was built, this was part of a development called Abacoa in Jupiter, Florida. And Abacoa was designed to include a nature preserve called the Greenway throughout the development. And part of the function of that was to be able to relocate gopher tortoises from the areas that were being developed into these Greenway preserves. This particular site here is a 23-acre segment of that Greenway and is hosting a population of gopher tortoises that have been moved from surrounding areas into here. When I first got here about 14 years ago, gopher tortoises were being moved in. The development was just under construction at the time, and it occurred to me that there was this experiment going on where all these turtles were going to be put into the refuge, but would they survive? Would they be able to have a self-sustaining population here? And so I decided that was something that I needed to investigate, and my students and I have since been tracking the tortoises now for over a dozen years and trying to answer that question. Can they survive? Is it a viable habitat for the gopher tortoises? Yeah, the young tortoises face a number of issues. They're nice tasty snacks for a variety of predators, but the adults, once they've achieved a fully adult size, there are very few things that can kill a tortoise. The coyotes and the foxes can still harm some of the smaller adults, but really it's humans that are killing the adult tortoises the most. Those that get out of the refuge and onto the roads potentially can be harmed by cars. And occasionally people will kill tortoises for food. There is a long history of eating gopher tortoises here in Florida, and there are still some people who do that. And so on this site we've lost a number of the adult turtles to people coming in and killing them, presumably for food. Disease doesn't seem to be that big of an issue on this site. I've seen no tortoises that explicitly died because of disease, but predators, including humans, are the main cause of mortality amongst the tortoises. Week number 10, right? Oh, last week. Oh, okay.
All right, so then we don't have to do that one. These tortoises grow at such a slow rate that we usually only weigh and measure them about every 3 to 6 months. So even over that sort of time frame, the really big adults will have changed to only a millimeter in their size. They try and keep other tortoises from taking their own burrows. So if you tap lightly on the shell, and so they'll push you towards the entrance to try and push you out of the burrow. And once they get within about a foot or two of the entrance, you can reach in and pull them out. So this is tortoise 161. This turtle's about 9 years old. You can count the growth rings when they're less than about 20 years old. After that, they get all sort of sanded smooth, and it's really hard to tell how old they are. This individual being 9 years old and having a flat plastron, this whole set of belly scoots, I'm inclined to think that it's a female or a subadult female. She's just on the cusp of becoming sexually mature. Finally found a use for these shopping bags. Okay, she's 3.62 kilos. Now we do 4 measurements to see what the size of the turtle is like and how much they've grown since the last time. So the length of the carapace is 271 millimeters. And length of the plastron is 267. Carapace width is 200. And the height of the shell is 114. Let's check to see if the chip is okay. Oh, there it is. Okay. I got all of them, or at least all the ones I could find over the last few years, microchipped, but I also use these external numbers so that I don't have to bother them too often when they're in their burrow. I can just look inside the burrow with a flashlight, read the number, and see who's there without having to pull them out or use the chip reader on them. I'm just going to check to see whether she's looking healthy or not. I don't see anything like tortoise ticks or nothing there. Her eyes look nice and clear. No infections or anything. Nostrils are fine. So this seems to be a perfectly healthy gopher tortoise. These tortoises are really, really gentle, and I have never had one ever try and bite. They just hiss and will push and flail a little bit, and that's about it. So every time we come out here, we census all the burrows that we know of, and get a sense of who's where, and in that way we've been able to map out ranges for individuals, how much area they typically are occupying, any extraordinary movements between different areas here or even outside of this little preserve. just a couple weeks ago, I was told by one of the groundskeeping people that there was a tortoise out by the building I'm in on campus. And so I went and checked it out, and it was number 171. It was actually one of the individuals I had marked in this site back in September. And in the course of a couple months, it had moved all the way down to the campus, which is anywhere from a quarter to half a mile from here. This is a map of all the burrows currently on the site. So roughly about 200 burrows in active use on the 23 acres. And right now I know of about 90 turtles that are using these burrows. What I'm finding, what my students and I are finding, is that they're doing very well in some of the sites. Some of the smaller sites, it's a lot more difficult. There's not enough space for a sufficient number of tortoises to keep a self-sustaining population going. But several of the larger sites, like the one site that my students and I focus a good deal of effort on, and that's a large enough population that it is self-sustaining. They do reproduce each year and do produce young. And many of those young spill over into some of the adjacent areas. And so the tortoises have been actually telling us a lot about how these populations can persist and survive within these nature preserves that are effectively human constructs and fragments that are separated from other tortoise populations.